All right, guys, welcome back to Crossman Productions. It's the start of the week. Hopefully, you guys had a great day today. Um, you know, my weekend's been crazy. We had Mexican OT up at where I work. Man, that was we had two shows. So we had Friday and Saturday. Saturday they had about 1,700 people show up. Uh, no, Friday they had 1,700. They had about 1,300 on Saturday. So it's been a really crazy weekend. But like a couple weeks ago, we had Sharon Oliphant and Brett Varvel on about to come talk about this new film, Disciples in the Moonlight. I cannot tell you guys enough how much I am looking forward to seeing this film, and we're finally 2 days away. 2 days. So on Wednesday, make sure that you guys run, don't walk to the theater to go see this film. So, you know, a couple weeks ago, Buddy reached out to me and he sent me the trailer to this. And Buddy, man, he's always introducing me to some really cool people and having them on the show. So I wanted to bring Buddy in. He has a guest too, Michelle King, who's also in the film, and she's also in another film that I'm wanting to see, The Forge. We're going to bring Cameron Arnett back on the show, and we're going to talk about that too. So let me go ahead and bring Buddy and Michelle in. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's happening?
Man, I'm so excited about having you guys on this show. You sent me the clip to Disciples in the Moonlight, and I know that when I had Todd Terry on the show a couple months ago, I think they were in the process of filming it or wrapping it up. So he kind of mentioned what it was. But when you sent me that trailer uh, to the actual film, man, I got excited about that film. There's two films that I've been that way with. The Sound of Freedom, because of the message of the Sound of Freedom, and then the message for Disciples in the Moonlight is right there. With Sound of Freedom, when you look at the storyline of what Disciples in the Moonlight is talking about. I kind of talked about this with Brett too. Is what people don't realize is that we're closer to than what people think for that to be in an actual reality. So I want to bring you guys in, and I kind of want to get you know uh, talk to you guys about this film. Hey, kind of tell us what kind of drew you two guys to this script.
Sure.
You make me go first. That's can we rock paper scissors? That's not fair. Um,
Oh, I can go ahead.
actually, on this particular one, uh, having Brett as the director and stuff was something that intrigued me. But then I did not. I kind of talked myself out of auditioning for it. And actually, Buddy is the one who texted me. He's like, "Are you auditioning for Disciples?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Quit being stupid," kind of thing. He didn't say that, but basically, he was insinuating quit being stupid and audition for it. And so I
It was
did.
it was much worse what I called it.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. He's blunt. And so I auditioned for it, and it was like I didn't have a whole lot of true understanding at that point of
Right.
what it was about. And then my agent, both of our agents, we have the same agent, she reached out and she's like, hear me out, please. They have really been struggling finding somebody that they want to play an old woman. And I know you can do this. And so I was like, all right, what the heck? And I did all kinds of crazy stuff for the audition and got the part and that kind of thing. And then I started looking at more of what it was about and stuff. And then I was like, man, it kind of, it made me emotional and brought me to tears. So it's kind of a backwards kind of situation, but I
Right.
have wanted to work with Brett.
Wow.
Well, I was drawn to it because of Brett primarily. I had worked with him on Vindication. Got to be on set with him. We didn't have any scenes together in Vindication, but we were on set together and
Right.
got to talk and become friends on that set. And whenever this casting call came about, like Michelle said, our agent was pushing us to do it, and I jumped on it right away because I wanted to work with Brett again. And when I found out Todd Terry was going to be in it, that was even more exciting to work with him again, because he's,
Right.
of course, the lead in Vindication. And so, yeah, it didn't take much persuasion to get me to want to audition for this film.
Right. And that's one of the things too that I noticed with the film is, well, Brett, he's done a lot of great films, and he's done a lot with Todd Terry. With Vindication, they did Running the Bases, they did some other stuff together. The film itself, Disciples in the Moonlight, has a great cast. The cast in it is phenomenal cast, and I know some of them's already worked together in other projects, and then having Sharon on board on that too. That's huge. So, and let me ask you guys this: on a film like this, how important is it to have that kind of chemistry with your co-stars?
Well, I think it's always important. There's not a lot of guessing about what your co-stars are going to be like on set, or what how they're going to act behind the scenes. If you've worked with them before, you understand their personalities and your friends, and it's always good to have that. And but it's also good to work with new people as well. It keeps you on your toes. It's always exciting to work with people you never have. And this cast was had a lot of people I'd never worked with before, but I knew who they were. Several of them have the same agents that Michelle and I have, and a lot of them have been in a lot of faith-based films that I've seen in the past, and I've always wanted to work with them, and this was the opportunity to do that. And when I started seeing the castings coming out, who was playing who, I was just so excited to see names like Stephanie Parker, Michael N. Hansen, Drew Varvel, and people like that, and Michael Patterson. It's just an incredible cast, and just honored to work with them.
So now, because you guys have done several different faith-based projects, what kind of draws this one or sets this one apart from all the other ones that you've done?
Well, for me personally, there's just so many things that someone my age could say. I never in my entire life would I think I would be seeing, hearing, experiencing some of the things we are in our country.
Right.
And, it's always been, we grew up with, Dallas Jenkins' dad with Left Behind and that kind of thing. At least I did. And, it's like, yeah, that's like forever away, blah, blah, blah. But those were the kinds of things that were insinuated and talked about in those books, and what that was going to be. But it was always way out there.
Right.
So then when you start seeing some of the things that have been happening in the world this past decade, probably further back, but this past decade, and all this stuff going on, you just go, oh my gosh, this could be a reality. And for me, I don't have to always play in faith-based films.
Right.
I just want to tell really true, good, authentic, raw, real stories that don't make light of it, or I don't want to say dumb it down, but just not make it as important as it needs to be.
Right.
And this did not. And it is truthful, and there's a lot of tough stuff in there, and I appreciate that significantly.
So for my audience who doesn't know, but you kind of want to break down what the film is about?
It's set in the not too distant future where we have an America where the Bible has been banned as because it's been deemed as hate speech,
Right.
and a new politically correct Bible has replaced it, and a group of what they call disciples from Indiana decide to uh, try to smuggle the true Holy Bible, keep it alive, and smuggle it across state lines to other churches to try to keep the true Word of God alive.
And the thing is and I've had some conversations with people who don't think this would happen, but I tell them that this is happening already in other countries around the world. So if it's happening around the world in other countries and Bibles being banned in other countries, what makes them think that it couldn't happen here in the United States?
Well, it's probably not going to happen, but when Brett has explained it before, he's not predicting this will happen or
Right,
that we're close to it or anything. He just wanted a movie to say, what if,
right,
what if it was banned? What would we as Christians do? How would we react to it?
right,
And he wrote, actually, Josh Strakowski wrote it. Josh had, I believe, Brett told you the story about his inspiration for writing this. Just had a dream
right,
one night where he woke up running through cornfield, being, holding the Bible, being chased,
right,
and that would he told Brett about it, and Brett said that would be an incredible synopsis to a movie, and then he asked Josh to write it, and this was the um, product of his writing, and it took several years to get this made because I believe it was 2013 or something like that was
Been
when
10 years since the beginning. Yeah.
yeah
wow,
yeah when they first had casting calls and tried to make it at
right,
that time, but they couldn't get the funding to make it right, and it wouldn't have meant as much back then as it means now, but in today's climate, people are starting to think that maybe this could happen,
right,
maybe not, but it was made. The wait was worth it because they were able to raise more funding. They were able to get better cast, better crew, better equipment, and
right,
everything has fallen into place right now. And it's such a powerful message. That's what makes this faith-based film stand out from a lot of the others. A lot of the others were preaching to the choir. They're just making a film just so other Christians can feel good about themselves
right,
instead of tackling tough subjects, just like Vindication does.
right,
It's not afraid to bring up topics that makes Christians uncomfortable because that's the real world. That's the world we live in. Nobody
right,
said being a Christian was easy. There will be persecution out there.
right,
That was promised to us by Jesus himself. But
right.
the way we react to it is what uh, you know what helps us overcome those struggles and that persecution. And this movie is just so great because you get to see the struggle that these disciples have in the persecution they went through and the actual dangers that they went through. They risked their lives in this movie just to save the Holy Bible, and that's what makes this movie stand out more than a lot of the other faith-based films.
Yeah, and one of the things that you brought up that I think is a great point, and it shows God's timing too, is in 2013, I don't think this story would have been as relevant as it is today, and I would say it wouldn't all the way up till probably around 2020 when we went through the whole COVID, the pandemic, um, and after, because our world has changed so much in the last 4 years, if you think about it. And a lot has transpired in those 4 years that we would never even have thought about. back in 2013. So, the timing on this is, I think, is perfect, and the fact that this is something that God put on somebody's heart 10 years ago is incredible.
Yeah, movies are all about timing. Powerful messages are all about timing, and this is a movie with a powerful message, but it was all in God's time. It was on His timeline, not ours. And we truly believe that now is the time for this movie to be released, and the reception that we've seen all over social media, people just eager for this film to be released, and also by the views on the trailers. The official trailer I just saw when I got it on here is about 800,000 right now.
Wow.
And just a couple of weeks ago, it was barely at 100,000, and so it's just in the last couple of weeks, it's jumped that much, and it'll probably hit 1 million by the end of the week, and it's just showing how much how eager people are to watch this movie. It's gripping, it's exciting, it's has some scary moments, it's suspenseful. And you don't have to be a Christian to watch it. It is a movie that anybody of any type of faith persuasion that they have or don't have will enjoy this movie, just because it's a good suspense thriller.
Right. So, the other thing too is, talk about those numbers. I think those numbers are definitely going to jump after people see the movie and they go and tell other people about this film. And this is one of the things too that I talked to Brett about is, movies like Sound of Freedom and this, Disciples in the Moonlight, they're starting to gain more, I won't say popularity, but a bigger crowd because of the storyline. The storyline actually really hits home for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are looking for more films like that. Because these are, when you think about it, these aren't just shows or movies that you go see. These are movies that require action after.
Yeah, it's not a night at the movies. It's an experience.
Right.
And I think people, when they watch this, will be moved by it and want to do what they can to prevent this from happening in real life.
So yeah, so the movie hits on Wednesday. Do you guys know how many theaters it's in right now?
I don't know. Do you, buddy?
Could you repeat that?
Oh, do you know how many theaters that's in right now?
Last I heard is around 1,100 theaters nationwide.
Okay. So if it's not in your theater, definitely go ask them to put it in your theater. And the other thing too is the more people show up to films like this, especially on the premiere weekend, the more theaters are amped to extend the period of time. So I think this was only going to be out for a week, but they'll extend the period of time that they show these, and they'll put it in more theaters. So for the based audience, it's movies like for you guys to show up, and show up in droves. Bring your family, bring your friends, bring your church, and go and support films like this because we need more films like this. And the more that we start putting this out, and the more support that these films get, the better. The better response we're going to get with getting them in more theaters and have them in for an extended period of time.
But I think that this is also a period in time. You talked about when COVID and things changed during 2020. It significantly shifted independent filmmaking,
Right.
In many different ways, and adding in the big strike that Hollywood had with
Right.
SAG and all that other stuff. It's kind of like when Jesus told the disciples to, that they were going to go into, all of these different countries and these lands. Well, they didn't at the time, but then God allowed a sympathetic ruler who allowed these Christians to go. And then once they got in there and they started spreading it, then, some really bad stuff happened.
Right.
But I feel like this is a pivotal time for independent films, people who are hungry for more than just nice entertainment, who
Right.
are wanting to have a call to action, like what Buddy's saying, who are wanting to address the tough stuff.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't be entertained, but it definitely means that we're getting into more notable, serious, heartfelt things that need to be shared and talked about, and that this is an open door for independent filmmaking. And it's hurt the theaters, so it's in their best interest to allow these films to continue, especially if people go to, I think it's a fandom is where you want to go and see if it's in your area. And if it's not, I think on there you can request. I didn't have that issue because we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, so they already had that in there. But I
Right.
think, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. Buddy, do you know that if it's not in your area, you can request through fandom for them to bring it to that particular area?
That's Fathom Events.
Fathom. What'd I say? Fandom?
Fathom.
Fathom.
Yeah, Fathom. I believe the website is Fathom Events. That they were one of the production companies that got this made, and you could go to their website, type in your state or your zip code, I think, and they will show you the theaters that it's playing in near you. So you can find a theater just by going to Fathom Events.
Right.
But what I wanted to say, about the sound, the Sound of Freedom did not have a lot of marketing behind it because, actually a lot of platforms refuse to even let the trailers be shown.
Right.
But by word of mouth, that movie became the giant epic that it became.
Right.
Because it had a small budget, but it was well made with a small budget, and word of mouth kept this movie going and going for weeks at a time, and the theaters were happy because they were making money off of it. And that's what we're hoping with this one, that if people come out, if they pre-order their tickets especially,
Right.
but if they actually show up in droves, like you said, bring your family, bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your church group. More of these, it will get extended to more weeks,
Right.
and that will make the theaters money. That they'll be happy, but it brings money to the production teams that made this movie, so we can make more movies like this.
Right.
But you have to show, if there's a hunger out there for movies like this, you got to show up. You got to vote. Vote by buying tickets, and show up. That's the only way to get more of these made, because so many, faith-based movies in the past got a lot of ridicule because they had small budgets and production qualities were not that good.
Right.
But it, starting with even like the Passion of the Christ, and then Sound of Freedom, if you get good filmmakers behind it with decent budgets, good quality faith-based movies can be made, and
Right.
it's profitable for not just the filmmakers but for the theaters as well, and it just makes everybody happy. And there's an absolute hunger out there for something other than superhero movies right now. They dominate, especially in the summer months, but this is an alternative to that, where families can, you can actually bring your families to see something like this, knowing you're not going to see a lot of the stuff that turn off parents in movies, and you don't want to bring your small children, but probably 12, 13 or above is great for this, because there are some tense moments and some scary scenes in this, because that's what makes it a thriller. But and again, you don't have to be a Christian to come watch this. I think I think the action, the suspense will be entertaining to non-Christians as well.
Right. Another thing that you brought up that I agree with is back, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, when people put out faith-based films, they were always low budget and they didn't do very well. But I would say in the last maybe 10 years, you started, this is a big credit to like the Kendrick brothers for bringing out, like War Room and Courageous and movies like that. Now you're starting to see um, good quality films, faith based films. You have The Unsung Hero, you had I Can Only Imagine, it came out. I Still Believe, Jeremy Camp's story. A lot of these new faith based films are doing really well in the box office. I'm expecting The Forge to be another one of those big films as well. Which is uh, it's the same cast of War Room because War Room did so well. Um, so there's a big move with the faith-based films that's starting to get noticed in the theater. We just had Ordinary Angels with Hilary Swank. So we got even actors who's not even known for doing faith-based films are starting to do faith-based films because they're growing. And I think that you're right because in Hollywood, Hollywood just regurgitates the same movies over and over. And since the pandemic, this has opened up a whole new door for independent filmmakers. And what I love about independent filmmakers is they get to bring out original stories. And I think this has been a big help for faith-based films.
Yeah, I agree. The pandemic was definitely tough to go through, but in the film world, it left a void there that needed to be filled with new films, and the independent filmmakers were the first ones to actually start making films, and not wasn't afraid to actually be on set and actually roll camera and make them. And so a lot of these small budget independent films have been very, very successful. And with all the different streaming services out there, there's a need for product. And in a roundabout way, the pandemic was, I don't want to say a blessing, but it left an opening for independent films to actually be successful.
Well, even the
So,
auditioning process helped. It helped with that because
right,
they went a lot more. It's a lot more open for video auditions. Like that exploded. I mean, it was there prior, but
right,
it exploded, and they were more willing to look at people who didn't live in that vicinity.
right,
So a lot of it was. I mean, I view it as God will use all things together for good, you
right.
know, in that kind of situation, and it has definitely been crazy the past few years.
The self-tape auditioning process was, a blessing to people like myself and Michelle who live in rural areas and
Right.
smaller states and flyover country. I live in rural Arkansas. She lives in rural Indiana, and but we didn't have to go to the big cities to audition in person
Right.
anymore. And the technology now of to be able to not only self-tape your auditions, but actually audition live
Right.
through certain platforms. It is really makes it easier for us, and it allows more actors to be seen by these filmmakers,
Right.
and not just the same ones that live in the big towns. They can actually see that there's talent all across the country.
Right.
Indiana, Arkansas, Nebraska, Maine, South Dakota, just all over. There's good talent out there, and now we can be seen.
So, and I'm kind of excited about that too because of that, you've gotten to be into a lot of different television shows and different films. Um, you know, I said, I was watching Vindication, and I saw you in Vindication. Yeah, well, is that Buddy? Is that Buddy in Vindication? And so I went and texted you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad because it gives you guys opportunities, and otherwise, people would miss out on actors like yourselves. And not get to know people like you guys. Because you're stuck in a small town. But now you're out there doing these the big films and these big shows. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm happy for you, dude.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled. Like I said, you get to work with some big names in the faith based film market.
Right,
It was always my dream to work with Michelle King, and now I finally have.
Oh, be quiet, buddy. Yes, because I'm such a big name. I mean, The
Well,
Forge for me was definitely one of those that was like audition, second audition, met with Alex Kendrick. We had a Zoom and everything in like a 3 or 4 day period. That would not have happened and got the role. That would not have happened. And I'm sure Buddy has those kinds of things as well.
right,
You know, 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. I mean, it's changed. And I believe that God is saying, okay, this is going to be, I don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know how long this is going to be for. He does. But
right,
this is an open door opportunity for people to do higher quality stuff in all the ways with, cast, crew, stories. Um, and there is money there.
right,
There's money out there that people want to invest in these good things. How Dallas Jenkins, crowdfunded for The Chosen is just,
right,
makes you gobsmacked,
right,
and those kinds of things. And it's got to be God ordained and God timing. And this is a good time for those who are wanting to go further with their acting career. Everything, all the technology online, use it for good and get good content out here. Being able to do podcasts have exploded,
right.
all of those things. And it's a good time.
Yep. And you were talking about Dallas Jenkins when Jerry Jenkins was doing the Left Behind series.
Yeah.
The books were popular. I know they kept trying to bring out the movies. They had the first one with Kirk Cameron,
Yeah.
You're Left Behind. I really believe now if somebody would take those books and create a series, a television series, that thing would blow up right now because of um, those books were powerful books. And when Jerry wrote those books, and I'm trying to remember
Well,
his
the
partner's name.
technology wasn't there
Yeah,
to make them like
exactly.
they, yeah.
So now, if somebody were to take those books and turn it into a television series, I think that thing would be huge right now. So,
well,
um,
if Kirk Cameron's listening, we've got an idea for you here.
yep, uh,
He's probably already thought about it. I know he's doing, I just auditioned for something for a show. He's kind of doing um, like a puppet type thing for kids. Iggy and Mr. Kirk, I think is what it's called down in Texas. He's filming that. So I think that's the trajectory he's going right at the moment. He's done a lot of stuff about the United States the past few years and marriages and families and stuff.
right,
And so that would be an interesting concept to do. Kind of like with Star Wars, the
right,
reason he started with 4, 5, and 6 is because the technology wasn't there to do 1, 2, and 3.
right.
You know.
You know,
And
and because after the pandemic, I think people would have a better understanding of where they were going with the whole Left Behind series. I think it would make it more relevant.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah,
mhm.
Oh yeah, we'd be like, oh man. Yeah, that's
Well,
probably true on some of that for sure.
Kirk was one of the early actors that left mainstream Hollywood to
yeah,
focus uh, on movies and projects that met his uh, his standards, his priorities, and wanted to make films of faith and family. And others have followed suit. Like Dean Cain, Kevin Sorbo, and
Right.
some actors like that had good careers in Hollywood, but left that behind to focus on these types of films. And
Cameron Arnett.
Cameron Arnett's another one. Candace Kirkpatrick, just so many. Tina Gallo.
Yeah.
There's just so many good actors in the faith film world that
Right.
were successful in Hollywood films, and so they're ready to make um, quality films that the whole family can watch.
Right.
And they can put all their heads together and come up with a Left Behind series.
Right.
Would be great. And what Dallas is doing with The Chosen, with a series like that, shows that faith-based series can work as well. And we
Right.
all know about Vindication because it was one of the highest watched series on PureFlix, and now on Redeem TV, and there's a market out there for it, and
Right.
they found a way to capitalize on it.
And what I find ironic about it, like with Kirk Cameron, is Hollywood blackballed those guys for a while. Jim Caviezel, they blackballed these guys and wouldn't put them in any of their Hollywood productions.
Yep.
But God still blessed it. God's blessed it, and God's opened a whole new door for these guys now. And so, let me ask you this: if you could give advice to somebody who's trying to think about crossing over into faith-based films, what would be your biggest advice to them?
Go ahead, buddy. You go first.
Well, everybody has standards. That they all have lines. And just know that you don't have to cross lines you don't that you don't want to in films like these. You will be respected by having priorities other than financial success.
Right.
Just focus on the films you want to make, and there's a market out there because you're not the only person out there that wants to see movies, quality family films. Just look at the box office returns for Passion of the Christ, for Sound of Freedom, and The Chosen, and you can see that there's a market out there. So you can be very, very successful in this industry.
Oh, and I agree with that. And I would also say, God tells us he wants obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And those who have done that have not, it's not been easy. So a big piece of advice is don't feel like this is just going to be easy.
Right.
It typically never is. Neil McDonough is one I love and
Right.
respect that man significantly. I think he's amazing. And just for the fact that he wouldn't kiss a woman, he was blackballed in Hollywood, and he's more successful now than he's been in tons and tons of stuff, but he's
Right.
really making, I wouldn't say he's making a name for himself, that's not what I'm saying, but he's just more in the front and center view of things that he's been doing. And he went through he lost everything, lost his house, lost jobs, lost, I think he filed bankruptcy, different things like that. So this, if you follow God in obedience, there probably is going to be some sacrifice, but God is going to honor that, and that respect that you get. If you're doing it for everybody else and you're not doing it for him,
Right.
that's the main problem. You have to, no matter what, I'm doing this for you. I'm trusting you, God, to open and shut my doors. And,
Right.
for me specifically, I've done more in the last few years than I've done in the past 10 prior. And I'm, a middle-aged, fluffy woman from Indiana, and I'm getting gigs and I'm getting things, but I'm trusting God for that outcome. So if you want to make that transition, you're just going to need to jump in with both feet, trust God, and know that it's not going to be easy, but it will be significantly worth it.
And it's great that you mentioned Neil McDonough. Neil McDonough was the star of the first movie I was ever in.
Oh, wow.
Really? Gosh, you're old.
I tell you, I'm geriatric, getting close.
Oh, you are not.
But Neil was in a movie called Greater that was shot in Northwest Arkansas back in 2013, and that was the first time I set foot on a movie set.
Oh.
They had an open casting call that I went to and did not get the role, but I got invited back to be an extra on that, and spent the day on set with people like Neil McDonough and Leslie Easterbrook and Nick Searcy and people like that, and just that I didn't have plans of trying to become a full-time actor at that time, but
Right.
I did acting in high school and college, and then after that didn't think it would take me anywhere, and I took like 20 some odd years off. But then I was on that one set as an extra for the movie Greater, and
Right.
Just caught the bug again. And Neil was a big inspiration. He was kind to me. He posed for a photo with me that I'll treasure forever. And he's just a great guy. I love Neil McDonough.
Yeah, he was just recently on Mike Rowe's podcast, and it was a very, very good podcast, and talking about the things, and basically was, semi quasi underneath the radar proselytizing to Mike Rowe, and
Right.
just being very straightforward with his faith and what he lost, and being raw and real, and that's good. How many movies have you been in? You've been in like 8 gajillion.
Well, I've been in about 120 projects, but that's film, TV, web series, short films, commercials, and so forth. Actual feature films, probably half that, probably 50 or 60, I guess.
That's awesome.
You said
various
like a small
That's
number.
awesome.
Now, most of them I don't want to talk about or bring up, because early in your career, when you have no guidance, you accept any role that comes along. And
you're like,
now I'm
please
wise.
tuck that away.
Yeah.
Man. Okay.
No more zombie movies or slasher movies.
Hilarious.
So I actually met you from a slasher movie.
Yeah, but that was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, I've been a guest on your show 3 or 4 times now, and
Right.
and I was going to say, you just don't bring up the first time. That we were on.
Here, I'm going to go through the archives now, man.
It was a Friday the 13th fan film that I was.
Right.
Yes, you told me about that one.
Involved with, and a good friend of mine, Jason Pitts from Arkansas, made that, and it's his vision, and that opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm happy to have been in it, because my character got a lot of recognition based on that.
Right. So, Michelle, if you don't know, I actually met him through Olivia Disney. So
okay.
She was in the film with them. So she brought the whole cast from this.
That's awesome.
Film line. So yeah, that's where I met Buddy, and then like I said, Buddy and I became friends, and I've had Buddy on, following his career for maybe last year or two, somewhere around there.
Yeah, three. Yeah, probably more like 3 years now.
Yeah, it's been a while. And Buddy's brought me a lot of great people too. So, he's one who.
He's a good connector. He will connect you with people. Yeah.
Yeah, he introduced me to Olivia, Elephant, and Brett, and I think you're the one that introduced me. I'm trying to remember who introduced me to Ginger Crossman. Maybe it may have been Venus. It may have been Venus, but
I'm familiar with Ginger, but I've never worked with her yet. Hopefully someday, though.
Yeah, she's awesome too. So, but yeah, man, I've had you come on, you bring in a lot of people. I appreciate you, and I'm excited to see everything that you've been able to do and watch you grow as an actor too. That's been a lot of fun, and see all the films and television shows that you're in, and of course,
it's a learning process. I'm still like a teenager in my career. Haven't been doing it that long, but
I thought you
you
meant
know,
mentally.
yeah, that too. And I'm in a middle-aged fluffy body as well, and but I'm still like a teenager when it comes to experience, in the film world. So I'm learning every day as well, and it's great to work with true professionals like Brett
Right.
and Todd and Michael Patterson, people like that. They're incredible to work with.
That makes a lot of difference. You talked about chemistry a little bit ago,
Right.
and it makes a huge difference. And oftentimes, we meet them on set. Hi, I'm your wife, that kind of thing. And if there's not the chemistry there, there's not. And you just hope and pray that the director and the casting people have, worked together. Usually with independents, they're doing 2 and 3 hats. But,
Right.
who's doing the casting, who's doing this is putting together people who are going to have good chemistry. But having good chemistry with the crew, having
Right.
good chemistry with your director, having good chemistry with everybody involved um, is very important. I mean, you can still
Right.
push through and you can still put out great stuff if you're a professional and all that, but it makes it so much easier. And I say that because working on Disciples was just a breeze. And I think, Buddy, you would agree with that too. It was so genuine and everyone was so helpful and they treated you kindly and appreciated you being there. And and I think you were too, we were up all night. A lot of these shoots were overnight because this is Disciples in the Moonlight, and we all kind of laughed and said, Brett, we would like to have Disciples at noon next time. Thank you very much. So it's not all night long, but it makes a difference in what you're doing for yourself and for the whole project. And it just, you know, it's something that it helps you when you do have tough projects that you have to go work on.
Yeah. Filming this movie wasn't easy for me because I got to set about 6 p.m. and left about 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And I am not a night person at all because of my advanced age and so forth. But had to stay up all night long and then get up in the morning and drive 600 miles home. But it was well worth it. And I keep going back to Vindication. That was when I first set foot on set for Vindication. I knew immediately that it was the best environment I had ever worked with. Jared O'Flaherty ran just a top-notch set. Everybody got along, and I'll brag on my friend Todd Terry again. I was scared to death when I showed up to do that because it had been so successful in the first season.
Right.
And I got invited to play a character named Hodge Boyd, who was a city councilman, and so I showed up at this city council building in a small town outside of Fort Worth, Texas, and showed up. I pulled in, parked my car, went around to get my wardrobe, and I immediately heard a name or heard someone speaking to me who said, "All right, how are you doing? Are you one of the actors here tonight?" And I turned around and it was Todd Terry.
Oh, wow.
And so the star of that series was the first person who spoke to me. He welcomed me, shook my hand, told me how excited that he was that I was in this, and that just made everything, all the nerves go away, and
Right.
the rest of the night everything was just smooth, and I felt like part of the family. And Peggy Schott and Steve Mokate and Christina Garza, just they were all, it was like a family.
Right.
And but then when we did Disciples in the Moonlight, it was that same atmosphere. It was working with Christian cast and crew was work so well. Not to say that other film sets can't work as well, but for me, it's the experience on these two projects. I'll never forget, and I'll
Right.
always consider all my fellow actors in this as family.
I have the same thing with Todd from Disciples. I was nervous as all get out, and I had to play an old woman, older than I am, like 20 years older. And I'm going in there, and they're gonna have to put a bunch of makeup on me, and I'm nervous. And I knew a couple people, but still, it was a lot.
Right.
And Todd comes on the RV. He comes over and plops down in front of me, and he goes, "I want to see this transformation." And he like
Wow.
just sits there and stares at me for like an hour while I'm getting my makeup on. I'm like, "Todd, will you go away?" And he just stood there, and it just totally broke everything for me, and it just relaxed me. It made it, and again, like Buddy's saying, he's one of the stars of the whole dang thing.
Right.
And I don't even think he wasn't even in that scene. And he hung around because he wanted to say hi to everybody. It was coming in, and he wanted to see me get into makeup and that kind of thing. And just that kind of stuff makes all the difference when you're doing these. And
Right.
people need to be that way with each other in general, in my opinion.
Right.
He's another actor that's been in big Hollywood projects as well, but
Right.
he really loves doing these faith-based films now, because he was I believe he's like in Walker, Texas Ranger,
Yeah.
and did a lot
Nuh-uh. He was in Walker, Texas Ranger.
of. I believe so.
And he was
No
also in
way.
Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris and his famous kicking. I
Uh,
love it.
He was in Fear of the Walking Dead. So was Peggy Schott was in that as well.
I love Peggy. Peggy is a wonderful lady.
Yeah.
At some point, I have Peggy on the show. We're trying to work something out with her schedule. But yeah, we definitely have her back on.
Yeah, you'd love Peggy.
Yeah.
She's the sweetest lady in Texas, I tell you. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at Todd's page here.
I've done quite a bit. He
was in the Friday Night Lights series, one of the Walking Tall movies, Prison Break. Yep, Walker, Texas Ranger. He did 11 episodes.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool. I did not know that he was in that. That's awesome.
So let me ask you guys this. What are you hoping the audience will get from Disciples in the Moonlight? What are you hoping they walk away with?
Well, I know they'll walk away entertained because it is an entertaining movie. But
right.
Just think after you watch it. Just know that we live in a country right now where this is not happening.
Right.
And to keep it that way, you're going to have to fight for it.
Right.
You can't just roll over and turn over the most sacred book ever because a government official tells you to.
Right.
If it, I hope it never comes to that. But if it does, people need to be thinking about that before it happens, so they know what to do if it ever does. And and that's one thing. And I hope lives are changed. That souls are touched, and just to see how these disciples in this film are willing to risk their lives for what they believe in, and to keep the Holy Bible alive. And that's the dedication that we as Christians need to have, and it's demonstrated here in this movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm sideways now. I don't know what happened to me.
I noticed that
you've been that way.
I did not do anything. I haven't touched anything. I agree 100% with what Buddy said. We need to keep the important things important. We get sidetracked with all the rhetoric. We get sidetracked with all the media. We get sidetracked with all these things, and we need to keep the important things important. And then as a practical side of outside of the actual story of that in the idea of filmmaking, don't give up. Like we talked about earlier, Josh had this idea 10 years ago. They started this 10 years ago. And wait for God's timing to be a part of a project, to if you want to be a filmmaker and do a project, all of those things, trust God's timing, do what he asks you to do. And if he tells you to build a boat and it takes 400 years,
Right.
then, you know, you're doing what you know that God's told you to do. And you have to shut out the noise of what everybody else says, which I'm sure they had times that was hard and they
Right.
had pressure. But because they were faithful to wait, I think God made this, you know, 10, 50, 100 times better than it would have been when they wanted to try to film it. I think it was 7 years ago. I think they started it 10 years ago and maybe tried. That initial concept trailer was, I think, 7. That's
Wow.
the one that Buddy showed me. So
They
that's a
actually-
side take.
Yeah, they had casting calls back then. You know, I mean, they had people cast. There's a great story about Micah Lynn Hansen. She auditioned the first time around, and she was cast as a FBI agent or something like that, and it didn't get made. But she told the story how, based on that, just auditioning for that somebody that was one of the casting directors in that remembered her and started putting her in other projects. And then by the time they made this movie, she was more seasoned and a better actress. And now she's playing Brett's wife in the movie. She's, you know, one of the leads. And
Wow.
But it was all in God's timing. If they had pushed it the first time and finished it, she would have just had playing a FBI agent with one line. But because they waited till the time was right to God's time, she ended up being one of the leads in it.
Oh wow. So trying to figure out why you're sideways.
I don't know. God has a funny sense of humor and he likes to annoy me, I think is what's going on. So I just have to look like a dingbat. It's fine.
I've never seen you go sideways like this before.
Everybody else goes sideways too. And
Michelle, are you in Jonah Quinn's house?
No, I am not.
That's an inside joke that only me and Michelle will get.
No, I am not. And what's weird is that it changed in my ear as well. Like it was something, and then all of a sudden Buddy's voice sounded different and I went sideways. So, you know,
Wow.
God's just liking to annoy me, I guess. I don't know.
Cool. So let me ask you guys, if somebody's wanting to follow you guys' career, how can they follow you? Like what's the social media, your social media? And what projects are you guys working on next? If you guys have projects right now.
Go ahead, Buddy.
Well, I'm in the basics. You can find me on Facebook under Buddy Campbell, Instagram, and X. And I'm not in much of the others because I barely have time for those. But you can look me up on IMDb under Buddy Campbell. You can see all the projects I've been in, and that's the best way. I've got my own website, buddycampbell.com, but I rarely update it, just full disclosure. So I need to go in there and update it soon, but that's how you can find me.
Yeah, basically the same. I'm Michelle L. King because, you know, I wanted to be like Samuel L. Jackson, minus the cussing. No, it just, there's a lot of Michelle King. So I wanted to separate myself. So I'm Michelle L. King. I'm on IMDb, Facebook, Instagram. I have a website as well. And yeah, if you type in Google searches, honestly, you're probably in there too, buddy. You know, my name's the first one that comes up if you do Michelle L. King. I've not been in nearly the projects that Buddy has. I think I have about 20, 24 or something like that. There are a couple that are in pre-production. I think 3, a couple of those that both Buddy and I are in, that are in pre-production. And there's a couple that are still in post-production that they have not finished up. And in the meantime, I'm just doing some auditioning. I have scripts that I'm writing. I'm doing teaching acting via Zoom typically. And I've been hired to do some acting consulting on some projects and stuff like that. So just keeping busy doing, you know, doing those types of things, and I still got kids at home, you know, and a farm and that kind of stuff. So just trying to juggle all the things and auditioning for stuff and paying attention to projects. And I definitely have a dream. I want to be on Vindication. So that's, yeah. I said that to Todd. You know, I was like, I have loved it before anybody knew what the heck you were. And it's so cool.
Michelle, let me say real quick, 2 of us on this screen are in Vindication or will be. Somebody here got a walk-on role.
Did you really?
And
that is so cool.
4.
Yeah, season 4, episode 6.
Well, thank you. Just twist the knife, buddy. Just twist the knife. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Well, Cross, Michelle and I, you talking about upcoming projects. Yeah, we've got a couple we can't really identify yet, but they are huge projects
cool.
that will take us over the pond, maybe.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes,
man. All right. So, yeah, definitely go check out the movie Disciples in the Moonlight.
Mm-hmm.
Check out Vindication. So, Jared, I know Jared watches this show because Jared, go have Michelle.
Hi, Jared. Yes, have me, please, please. Todd said I need to audition. Please, 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 please. I know it's not up to him. I know he.
Jared, you need to have Michelle here fight Olivia Disney.
Oh,
okay. What? I'd love to have a fight. Do I get to have a gun?
Well, see, I was in a fight, but I didn't put up much of a fight.
I still got to talk to Olivia about what she did to you.
Yeah. Season 3, episode 1.
Right.
Caused quite a stir back when it aired.
I wouldn't mind beating you up either. That'd be fun to do that on.
Oh, I
camera.
know you've thought about it. I know before.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I just signed on with a couple projects filming in Texas.
All right, cool.
Coming up, one in August, one in October. That I'm excited about. I can talk about those maybe at some point specifically. Cool. And I did a movie back last year in Kentucky called Ghosts of the Big Sandy that I'm real proud of. It's a family film, and
that's a good script.
Yeah, it's going to be released at some point, probably this year, probably to streaming. But
good.
That's another one that's going to be released, and I've got several projects. I'm attached to about 16 or 17 right now.
Wow.
But don't know if they'll all get made or not. But but yeah, God's blessed me abundantly.
Cool. So next time you're in Texas, you gotta hit me up so we can maybe we could do a in-person interview.
I will say also that I'm going to have that I did a movie, a SAG movie in Arkansas back in the spring as well. That it's on IMDb, so I can mention it now. But it stars Nick Offerman and Dennis Quaid.
Oh wow!
And it's called Sovereign, and it'll be released at some point. But I was real excited about being cast in that movie, and got to have dialogue with Nick Offerman.
Oh wow!
Cool.
That's very cool. Well, cool, man. Cool. I want to thank you guys both for being on the show today. Man, like I said, I'm looking forward to this film. Not only am I looking forward to Disciples in the Moonlight, but I'm also looking forward to The Forge.
Yes.
That's gonna be another great film.
Yeah, that was an excellent experience as well. That was a whirlwind, but excellent experience. And they have paved a lot of ways for a lot of people. The Kendrick brothers have.
Right. And at some point, I'm working with Cameron to get Cameron back on. Cameron's been on a couple times.
Yes.
And so I'm working on getting him back on so we could talk about The Forge. But yeah, that's another movie I'm looking to see. So again, thank you guys so much for taking your time out and being on the show. I really
thank you.
enjoyed getting to meet you guys or meet you. And Buddy, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So
yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm sideways these past 10 minutes. I don't mean to screw up your show.
I don't know how this turned you.
I don't know. This is a story of my life. I just do things sideways. So there you go.
I will join
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Solidarity.
I would like to be solidarity. Oh my Atlanta. Well, it was very nice to meet you, Cross. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, buddy, for, you know, pulling me along and that kind of thing. And it's a fun ride.
Trying to drag you across the finish line here.
I know. All right, it's awesome. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it very much.
And thank you guys. Hey guys, remember, until the next episode, you are uniquely designed with a purpose, and always keep moving forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.